That shit, what? That's my favorite part. Like that. Tune in. What's this? I said we vibed up.
Political issues, shit your beats.
We vibed up.
Ain't nobody safe. We go down there.
Said we vibed up.
Riding like a beach. Your favorite rapper.
Said we vibed up.
Your favorite food to eat. Just get keep it real.
We vibed up.
Y'all said
Back to the crib. We vibed up. We vibed up.
Donald Trump ugly ass.
We vibed up.
Guns, rivals, and marijuana.
Once again, it's time to sit back, relax, and catch a vibe one time. Put your boy Black up on your mind. This vibed up, hell yeah, we feeling fine. On Vibed Up, this where you feel free to speak your mind. We guaranteed to lay back and have a hell of a time. We talk about everything from education, relationships, manipulation, and even patience and any other occupation. On Vibed Up, we speak facts, no cap. Hell nah, ain't no hate. On Vibed Up, we might be drinking too. Moving through topics like money, sex, religion, and political views. Keep it locked, boy, we speaking truth. Running numbers up, trying to get 1 trillion views on YouTube. It's your boy BLACK, and this is Vibed Up. Before further ado, I want you to go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also follow us at Black Vibed Up and Vibed Up TV on IG, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms. Y'all, today I need to holler at y'all, man. We gonna talk. And we're going to talk about something that we all going to deal with, we all have dealt with, and something that is very relevant in today's time. If you haven't guessed it yet, today we're talking about grief, man. Yes, grief. Grief. Grief is something you can relate it to sorrow. You can relate it to pain. You can relate it to the missing of something important to you or something that you love or the longing for something of such. All right. And I feel like it's important for us to use the platforms that we have to talk about these things because, hey, it's happening, man. It's 2020. We almost at the end of the year, and we've definitely had a hell of a year, man. I think now more than ever, we are dealing with people not having enough time to actually recognize what they're actually going through mentally, emotionally, and having the support systems there to help them get through these times. And so that's why I feel like today we have to focus on grief because it's just important, man. It's something that we all gonna do. It's something that we all gonna experience. We all gonna have to go through at some point in time. And so why not talk about it? Now, with that being said, let me give you this disclaimer, man. No, I am not a doctor. No, I am not a certified clinician. No, I am not a counselor. Some may say so, but I'm not certified in those fields. And so I am just a person who I've been through things like everybody else out there. And I feel like because I've been through certain things, I may be able to shed light on certain situations that you can take from or with you throughout this conversation. And like I said, always, if you can't, then this ain't for you. All right. But if it is, then go ahead and we're going to vibe. All right. I feel like before I jump into it, I have to give y'all a little bit of background on why I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this. I mean, quite frankly, you know, I've had my share of deaths in my short time being on this earth and dealing with these important deaths and significant deaths that has happened in my lifetime. I'm not going to go too deep into the story, but I will let you know, like, I've lost many people who I love dearly. I've lost aunts, I've lost uncles, and I've lost the person who many would say is that person, that being that will love you the most. I lost my mom, all right? And so I feel like that qualifies me to speak on things as grievance because I've been through it. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm still going through it. Throughout this conversation, you will get a sense of understanding of how grieving is a process. It is not something that you can kind of flick on and flick off. It is not something that you can say, okay, I'm over with. I done dealt with it and I'm ready to do something else. It comes back and forth. It's a pendulum, man. You know what I mean? So throughout this conversation, you may hear or feel some things that you know, just embody yourself. And if so, that means that we on the same page and you're not the only one going through these things. All right. I kind of want to go into the 5 to 7 stages of grieving. Some people say 5, some people say 7. Really, I don't even really know. I just know I did some research, right? And I connected the research that I did with the feelings that I've had personally. And I came out with about 5 different stages of grief. These different stages, you're not going to hit like chronologically. It's not like this is the first stage, this is the second stage, this is the third stage, because everybody grieves different.
differently. There's not one person who grieved the same. All right, I may grieve differently than you. You may grieve differently than your cousin. Your cousin may grieve differently than auntie, and so on and so forth. We all have our own take on what it means to grieve for ourselves. All right, and I want to clear this up too. I know I mentioned different ways of grieving and different things that we can grieve about, but I want to stress that grieving is not only towards like human beings, the passing of a person or the death of a significant other. You can grieve things that you loved, things that you had a hold on to. Some people are have significant items that they just have a connection to. A pet, baby dolls. Like some people grow up with these things that are just a part of who they are. You know what I mean? These significant things that they hold on to, and they have significant value or moral value to self. All right. And when those things are lost or stolen or broken or whatever it may be, you may find yourself diving into one of 5 of these stages of grievance. All right. So the first stage of grievance is denial. All right. And many of us may already know, man, denial means you just don't believe it. Like you can't believe that shit happened. Right. And I know for me, man, when my mom passed, I couldn't believe it happened. It wasn't. I think the way I found out, I had to find out that way, and I give you a little bit of backstory. Long story short, man, I was a senior in high school. I had just turned 18 in September of that year, and I played sports. I played football in high school, and we had a game, a state championship game. All right, it's a game, a big game where if you're down here in Florida, any part of the South, really, we take football very seriously. But wherever you're from, I'm pretty sure you got that sport that just like the whole town, the whole city they just dial in on that sport. Football is that for us in Miami, in Florida. And my school was the best school at the time. We were the #1 ranked high school at the time. And so we had a state championship game that we were preparing for. And when you prepare for a big game, you go off usually to bond with your teammates, with your brothers. You probably stay in a nice hotel for a couple days to prepare for the game and just focus in. And that's exactly what we did, man. I was in a hotel with my teammates, with my brothers, and we went to the practice before the game, the day before the actual game. And after that practice, we were heading back to the hotel, and actually my principal had called my coach. And my coach came and told me that my brother, he actually said one of my brothers was rushed to the hospital. And I was like, man, that can't be right, because, my brother was straight. He was young, healthy. He was okay. Last time I spoke to him, he was good. So I was like, that it just didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. Along the way back to the hotel, the principal called back and actually said that it was my mother who was rushed to the hospital, not my brother. Okay? And so when he said that, I kind of felt something. I didn't know what it was, but my mother was older. Same typical things that happen. Doesn't have to be typical, but high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things that we say run in the family that we eventually need to break the curse of, because it doesn't have to run in the family. It could stop somewhere, but she dealt with some of these things. And so when he said she was rushed to the hospital, it sounded more believable than my brother being rushed to the hospital. And I think that's just because, she was older and she dealt with certain, issues. Long story short, one of my coaches drove his car to the hotel, and we get to the hotel. He takes me, and my best friend actually came with me to the hospital. Okay, so it's one of my coaches, my best friend, and myself. We go to the hospital. We walk in the doors. I see about 3 doctors sitting at the little check-in area. And so I go and, let them know my mother's name, and that's who I'm here to see. And in that moment, I think that's when I started to feel a little antsy. I think the whole way there I was good. I was straight, you know what I'm saying? But in that moment, when you see 3 men, 3 doctors, they were all male, 3 men, they kind of just looked at us. And, at that time, we were big guys. You got 3 big guys, probably everybody 250 or better. I'm asking to see this lady, and they didn't know what to say. They actually didn't say anything. It was just one doctor who looked at me and said, just follow me. So I'm like, okay, I begin to follow him back, and we walked through the ICU area. And for those of you who have not been through the intensive care unit at a hospital, it's one of the most depressing shit you will ever see, man. You know, you got people in that area fighting for their life. It's bad. You know, it's just a bad feeling. And so we went through the ICU area. We bent the corner. We approached this room. And so I looked back to tell my best friend and my coach to wait outside the door. But when I turned around, I was already halfway in the door. And so I turned around and my brother was actually there. My brother was in the room. And that's how I found out. You know, I seen my mom, you know, laying down on the table. I'm not going to get into too many details, but that's the way I found out. And honestly, in that moment, I think that was the only way I could have found out. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if I could have been that person. I know a lot of you may have gotten phone calls about relatives or parents or whoever else who have passed away. I don't think I could have dealt with hearing that on the phone. It was something that I think God had planned, actually, because I'm spiritual, so I believe this was in God's plan. That was the only way I could have found out, man. I don't even want to think about what could have happened if somebody called and told me that. So I seen it firsthand, and in that moment, I think, you know, my life changed. And we talk about denial and not believing what's happening, but I think in that aspect, I had no choice. I think I had no choice but to believe what I was seeing, you know. And, you know, I in that moment, I think I kind of accepted it because everything began to slow down, and, you know, other people, family members began to show up, and you know, things happen from that point on. But I said all that to say that, you know, we deal with these different stages at different points in our lives. All right. So it says, you know, denial is stage 1, but not necessarily, because in my case, you know, I don't think I was in denial. I actually think I hit denial a little bit later in life. But when I initially found out, I believed it. I had no choice but to believe it because I seen it. You know what I mean? But it does happen. And, you know, a lot of the times we don't know what to do. You know, we don't believe that has happened, or we can't believe, or we can't fathom the thought about what's happening and what we're dealing with in the moment. But it's okay to be like that, okay? The thing about it is, you don't want to be in either of these stages for too long, okay? This is a natural thing. We all gonna go through it, okay? So stage 1 is denial. Stage 2, typically, what most people say is anger. You feel mad. You get a little upset. You may be upset at yourself. You may be questioning your belief system. Why did this have to happen to me? Some people may ask why it couldn't have been me instead of the person who passed away. You may be a little mad at the medical facility. You may be angry at siblings. You may be angry at just the world, you know. There are certain things that you just can't be prepared for. You know what I mean? Especially when they happen out of the blue. You know, and when things happen like that, typically you get mad, you get upset. And I'll be sitting here lying if I say that I didn't get upset at some point, you know, where I wanted to it was just me against the world. I was on the Park vibe, you feel me? Like, you know, for those of you who have lost somebody dear to you, or lost something dear to you, like you know exactly what I'm saying. And like I said, it's okay. All of that is absolutely okay. You can be mad. You have the right to be mad. Okay. The issue comes when you start fostering this feeling long at a time period where it's just like it's long. You know what I mean? You feeling angry all the time. You could slip into depression. Okay, you could slip into different avenues of depression, or even have thoughts of like self-harm or destruction. And you definitely don't want to go down that path. Now, are you wrong if you do, you know, have spurts of thoughts that you maybe shouldn't be thinking of? Absolutely not. What I would say is, man, seek help. You know, own up to it and just say, you know, I may need some help, because everybody need help. Every single person need help. I'll be lying if I sat right here and told you that shit is easy and you could get through it by yourself. That is a lie. You get what I'm saying? And anybody who telling you that, they probably ain't been through it themselves. You know what I'm saying? So if you need help, get some help. Stage 3. A lot of people call this the bargaining stage, or like the unknown stage, which is, or like, Yeah, like the unknowing stage. It's the stage of like obsession. You're obsessing over like the times you wish you could have done something different. Maybe, like I said, it could have been you. You have these thoughts of like what ifs, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's okay. You just don't want to be in these stages for too long. You have to find different things to cope, you know what I mean? And try to push yourself through. All right, before I continue with these stages, I'm gonna let you know right now, grieving is not something that you like get over. Grieving is something that is going to continuously happen. I tell people all the time, it's that sucky part of life. It's that messed up part of life that you just don't talk about all the time because it's like, why are we talking about that? But you do need to actually speak on it and know what it is so you can understand when you get to these points, what you might be able to do to help yourself out or help other people who you love and care for dearly. All right, so and at the end of the day, like always, we just don't want to be in these stages for too long, all right, because you can slip. It can become a slippery slope. Stage 4 is depression. And depression usually come when you kind of accepted what has happened. You become more normalized with the actual fact of something or someone is actually not there anymore, and you may feel a little sad. You know what I mean? You definitely you get deep into your thoughts. I know I did. Had a lot of lonely nights, man, to myself, both purposefully and unpurposefully. Like I needed my time to be left alone, to be into my thoughts and understand for myself what I'm going through and why do I feel this way at a certain time. And like I said, there's no time capsule on it. Some people may go through these stages quick. Some people may go through these stages over the course of a few years, right? Even a lifetime. There's no time capsule on how somebody grieves. It's you, and it's what that person meant to you. You get what I'm saying? And so that's that. And then stage 5, the stage where you accept what has happened. It's acceptance, all right? It's the stage when you understand, like, okay, I have to continue to live my life without this person or without this thing or, you know what I mean, without this significant other. But I have to figure out ways to continue to push forward. And you have accepted what's happened to you, and you can deal with that and like move throughout life, you know, in a positive manner. These are the 5 stages of grieving. And once again, like I said, I just feel like we need to talk about this more because it is something that we deal with, especially in our communities with it happening so frequently. You got COVID-19 out here. You know, once again, I pray everybody stay safe, you know, take all precautions to this beast of a virus and just, you know, try to be your best self and deal with it. Just like grieving is something that we can definitely get through, you know, together. You may need somebody there with you as a support system. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to lean on somebody. Don't be afraid to make that phone call and check on your people. Don't be afraid because you never know what that phone call could do, right? We're human beings and we need that social aspect of life in order to just get through sometimes, all right? And we're going through a lot, okay? So I just wanted to take an opportunity to sit back and talk to y'all about it because I felt it was important. And I want y'all to be able to say, like, you know, if you didn't learn anything from this video, hopefully you're able to take something away. For me, myself, I think I try to be as positive as I can to everybody. Even if I don't like you, I can accept I don't like that person or that thing, but still not be, you know, nasty towards that person. It's just something that you accept and you move on, because in today's time, you literally don't have time or space for any of those negative emotions, all right? One thing that has helped me get through my personal grievances is having positive relationships. A lot of people, I get these, you know, phone calls, and I've spoken to teenagers, I've spoken to adults, older and younger than me, who have, you know, still expressed that they don't think they could have went through what I went through at that time in their lives. And, you know, I'm one of those people that believe that everything happens for a reason. Like I told you, I'm spiritual, so I think God makes no mistakes in that. And so I don't think he put me through that to keep it to myself. I think he put me through that to be able to understand that, you know, somebody may be able to learn from our story or take away from it what they can take away from it. And that's it. It's 2020, shit's crazy. We're dealing with it, we have dealt with it, and we're gonna continue to deal with it. It's a part of life that we can't get away from. And so while we're here, let's just learn more about it and understand it even better. I'ma holla at you. Peace.
Said we vibed up.
Favorite food to eat, just get
We vibed up.
Y'all said I
Back to the crib.
We
We vibed up.
Venus and Serena, Lil Wayne,